Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Geek podcast, where we celebrate geek, nerd, and pop culture. Each week, we deliver the best analysis for fans, by fans, on anything related to movies, TV, video games, comics, anime, and manga. We talk geek. And now, here's the Get Geek podcast.
What is up, y'all? Denizens of the internet. Welcome to the Get Geek podcast. Welcome to yet another fantastic episode. I am Jose.
This is AJ.
Eli.
And this is Multiverse Smiles.
Damn it, I
Walt.
forgot again.
Jesus Christ.
What'd you forget?
Oh my gosh.
I want to do. I like doing those cool title names. I keep forgetting to do it.
Specific to the episode?
Well,
Specific to the
Specific to the episode,
conversations.
specific to what we're talking about. Yeah.
So,
Well, you dropped the ball on this one. You're going to have to do it on the next episode and every following episode after that if you really, really want to get into it. Make a note of it for yourself. Put it on the screen. And then next time when we do an intro, you got to jump into that with a little bit more enthusiasm. Anyways, what is up, y'all? How's everybody doing today on this Sunday afternoon? Everybody good on Sunday morning? Jeez, feels like it's later than it is, I guess.
yeah, especially after all the issues we had prior to this thing.
Technical difficulties.
Technical
difficulties. Anyways,
All right, let's
jump
get into geekness.
into it. Yeah. First off, we'll do the audio disclaimers this week because we are recording remotely, and I am using some AirPods to record this week. I am not using a microphone. I'm using some Apple AirPods. Plug Apple. So if there are any sound issues or artifacts, as we always say, slide into our DMs. Let us know what's up. Let us know how you feel about it. Let us know what you think of the episodes of the podcast and any feedback you have. And of course, the West Bay. The best way to support your favorite podcast crew is to like, rate, share, and subscribe. Check us out on all your favorite social media platforms. Look for us, hashtag Get Geek Podcast, hashtag Get Geek News. And you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Discord, everywhere, just about everywhere. And of course, if you're listening to this episode, please rate us on Apple Podcasts. That is an awesome way to support the crew. So what are y'all laughing about back there? I'm done with my spiel. What's going on? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm so sorry, but just
We have NFL game day morning on the background, and there is a very, very strange person
Oh God.
in a black and gray wannabe Ravens. I don't even. How would you describe that?
what is this crap?
No, what the hell, bro?
I just
Just
can't.
some deranged madman. Just
Is it a
It
fan?
was just bad.
Is it a fan
No, I
couple?
think
No,
it's part of the
really
part
hope
of the
not.
segment that they're doing, because they're doing the Ravens, but it's very, very weird. I'm gonna do a quick screenshot and send it to you through Telegram so you can see what we're
Raven
talking about.
Man, Raven
no.
Man, Raven Man, Raven
Oh my
Man.
God.
About as odd as you can get. But anyway, you know what?
Our episode
This
today
is-
has some ravens.
Yeah,
It
this
does,
is
if you've
very,
seen.
very disjointed today because we're supposed to be geeking out on stuff, and we keep trending back to the NFL one way or another.
Yeah,
just-
I'm not geeking out,
You know
out about the NFL. I refuse. It's the worst.
It's a very, very weird Sunday morning here today.
That looks like truth from, or no, that looks like gluttony from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Is
What
It
the
is-
hell?
It is very, very bad. And
How
the
does that
dude,
Got a
the
mouth
dude
in
is
its-
wearing, yeah,
its
and
face.
the dude is wearing
Oh,
brown
stomach.
leggings.
Oh my God.
He's
How
got
is that a
brown
raven?
leggings.
It has, what is
I
it? It
have
has
no
teeth
idea.
in its stomach.
Cyclops. What?
It's got
Actually-
no. Those are supposed to be feathers. Believe
Oh
it
no,
or
it's a
not.
triclops.
Bro.
I'm sorry.
Not for nothing, I hate to put it this way, but like Michael Irvin is on this episode. If I were him, I would be offended because those look like the crows from like Dumbo or something like that.
That's very, very bad. And
For
he's
those
wearing,
of you who know the crows from Dumbo, oh boy,
Yeah, I know.
Oof,
he's
oof.
wearing
Anyway.
brown leggings on top of that. So I just can't.
Oh.
Let's
Let's
really
get into
Disgusting.
let's keep going.
Who wants to start? Let's do some geek outs to begin with. Let's start there. Can somebody jump in? Because I don't know what to geek out about after that madness. It's not going to be about Dumbo.
Oh my
All
What are we
right.
geeking out about?
So
Somebody
in
talk
the
to me.
vein in the vein of madness, why don't we go into what's bizarre? Huh?
Mhm.
Oh,
See what
yeah.
I did
I'm
there?
pretty sure it would be the
Oh,
opposite,
I
though.
guess I know what you
Bizarre
guys are
and
talking about
madness.
then.
So I am very close to finished with it. I have like what 1 or 2 episodes left, but I have been watching part 5. Yes, part
it's part
5
five.
of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
What?
Golden Wind.
Is that the new
It
episodes
just
that
came
dropped
out,
on
right?
Netflix?
Yeah.
Yes, and then they're gonna come out with part 6 sometime soon, I believe. Right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So
They've been
it's a quick
pumping them out.
turnaround then, right?
It seems like because what it was just a few months ago when they released the previous part, and we talked
Yeah.
about it on the podcast, and now they released this one, and then you have the next one coming out soon. But I gather for AJ, it's probably because the manga is way
Oh
ahead of
yeah.
the anime.
Oh yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
a lot of material for them to jump on. And plus I think the Japanese versions of these have all been out for a while. This is just them releasing the English dubs, if I'm not mistaken, on Netflix.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But
it's
I've been
there's a
watching
lot.
the sub.
Yeah. What do you think of it so far?
It honestly surprised me. I mean,
How so?
I should know better because I like JoJo's to begin with, but I don't know, ever since part 3 with Diamond is Unbreakable, I was kind of like, okay, so you did some interesting things here, but you never really opened up on it. And so that kind of was that was kind of a turnoff for me.
Mm,
Part 4, you get what part 3 did well because it did do things well. I mean, sorry, not part 3, part 4. What part 4
mm,
did well. That's Diamond is Unbreakable.
mm,
It did what part 4 did well, which was kind of having like these sort of slice of life type episodes. It did that, but it also went and did the expanding I was looking for. And it kind of takes it to a kind of weird place in my opinion because stands are spiritual type things, right? But it kind of there's a new kind of element thrown in there that kind of like I'm not gonna say throws it for a loop, and I'm not gonna spoil it for those who haven't seen it yet. But like,
mm.
I don't know, it's not bad, but it's kind of like, huh, okay, I did not expect that to really be the origin of stands, but hey, I mean, I still enjoy it. I mean, the ending,
Yeah,
I still have to get to the ending, but I'm at the final fight, and bro, that's pretty cool.
that's good because I mean,
Just two, yeah.
well, I was gonna
No,
say I
sorry,
feel
go
like
on.
they didn't flesh out those stands and what the heck they were. They just showed up. They're like, Hamon power is no longer a thing, and now it stands, and just deal with it.
That's a
So
shame. I love
if
Hamon
they
Power.
explain that,
You still
then
have to
that's pretty
complete
cool.
the first season,
What's that?
Oh my gosh.
but yeah,
Yeah, I know. No, he's talking
Oh
about
yeah.
me
Oh, okay.
because
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't gone past the first season, so um,
Yeah.
I'm
and there's
closing in
so
on the
much
end of Diamonds
more.
Unbreakable, so
yeah.
I'm
But
close to getting to the
I
next
did
part.
like the Hamons. Those were super cool, super crazy.
Hamon con
Oh
queso.
yeah,
Yeah, that was good
Hamon.
stuff.
There you go.
What's his name? Zeppelin.
No,
Zeppeli,
Baron
Baron Zeppeli,
Zeppeli.
Yeah, Baron Zeppeli.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
bro.
I'm
and
not even gonna
Stroheim,
pass.
Oh,
the Nazi hero
Stroheim.
Stroheim.
Bro, that was
Oh God.
insane, bro.
Gosh.
That's why it's bizarre. It's very
Yeah, I
It's
know.
bizarre.
yeah, it's very
Yeah,
bizarre. Absolutely.
Continue,
yeah.
please.
And so I gotta say, I actually really like. I was kind of. So here's the thing. Dio is arguably one of the best villains in what's it JoJo's pretty much right. Am
Yep,
I right,
yep,
Yeah,
Yuma?
yep,
Am
bro,
I
for
right,
yeah.
Uncle
sure.
Jose?
Dio.
But I gotta say, part five's villain run at least for me kind of runs close to Dio.
Hmm,
Mm,
that's
It's
impressive.
not all the way
From the
there. It's not
original.
all the way there. I'm gonna give you that,
I don't know.
but I really like the villain for part five.
I don't know. No, Dio is still.
I never said he
Yeah,
eclipsed
I
Dio
know,
or
I know.
surpassed
But
him.
all I'm saying is that nobody can beat Dio. Dio is just
Well,
He's in a league of his own, bro.
technically,
No, I'm not talking in terms of power level.
Oh.
I'm talking in terms of like
coolness.
awesomeness.
Yeah.
Awesomeness,
All right,
bro.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But
Dio
I'm saying,
Brando.
I'm just saying,
Dio Brando.
part 5, the guy comes close. Just saying.
I don't know. I don't know, bro.
Yeah. And so apart from that, I gotta finish it. It's so good. I've been binging it. So
Bruh.
good.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to kind of wrap things up, this will kind of be a short aside and then someone can go next. I've actually finished Far Cry 6 this time.
The real way.
The real way.
Okay.
Wait, for
Rather
real?
than just
Yeah.
Is
rather
it
than just
short?
mass murder, running around the
Oh, yeah.
island.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Well, he
It's
remember that had that secret ending in the
Yeah.
like
Oh my
first 2
gosh.
minutes, right?
yeah.
So
So it's only short, and it only seems short because it's been the only thing I do when I get on Xbox. First of all, second of all, I'm playing. Remember, I'm playing the story-oriented mode. If I were playing the actual difficulty gameplay-oriented mode, I'd be taking a lot longer with this. But I was
Okay.
playing the story-oriented mode, so that's why it seems, even though I beat it in 2 days, technically, that's why it seems that even after a couple, it's been like a month of playing, practically.
that's
Okay.
pretty long.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? What do you think? That's maybe about 40 hours worth of content, give or take? Because that is a pretty decently long campaign if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's not Skyrim level where it's like what you need like 80, 100 hours to beat,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But 30 to 40 hours is still a pretty significant time for a campaign. So
Oh yeah.
And as always, the endings are gut punches, my God. Like you can never win in a Far Cry game. You really never can. It's always it's always the bad choice and the worst choice.
Ooh, I like that.
And then this one is just I'm not gonna it's okay, quote don't get me wrong, it's a great ending for a game, at least story wise. But like in terms of I kind of wanted things to turn out better, no. No. It's bad.
Yo.
And the only thing I'm going to say on that is Castillo's a bastard.
Oh,
Castillo's a
yeah,
bastard.
does this
Yes.
Far Cry? I know the other Far Cries haven't truly been interconnected, right?
No, not really.
Does this set up like a Far Cry 7 that's like a sequel to it? Or is this the end of the story?
No, this is the end of Yada's story.
Okay.
I see.
Okay.
I mean, the only way it's actually going to be interconnected is that Voss is eventually going to appear in the game. Because at the very end,
That's a DLC, right? Is he a DLC? I think.
Yes.
He's been on Instagram a lot too. The actor that played him, Michael Mando, posting a lot about the character again. So that's a big old hint that he'll be returning in some form or fashion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then in like an end credit scene, there was kind of like an exchange between one of the main characters and his character. So it's like, okay.
So there may be the next game a very small connective tissue to Far Cry 6.
I mean, it's possible. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna take that back. They are all interconnected for the most part, kind of. I don't know about what was it, 4? But at least in terms of like Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 5, because I'm pretty sure this guy showed up. There's like a CIA agent that always shows up to like help the main character at some point in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, at least from what I remember, he was in 3 and 5. Or no.
Okay. So
Which
they
one?
loosely connect because there's a character. He's kind of like Night Nurse in the Netflix Marvel
you
series,
can think of it
right?
that way.
That she shows up in like all the shows and she kind of connects everything together in a sense.
Or no,
right?
the better Turk.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
Turk.
Turk is a good
bro.
thing. You know,
Turk is amazing. But yeah, that let me just double check that. No, okay, sorry. So Far Cry 4 is the game I was thinking of. For some reason, I always flip those two. It's weird.
Okay.
But basically, yeah. Far Cry 6, at least for me, was a very enjoyable experience with a story that I expected to punch me in the gut. It punched me in the gut.
Did what it's supposed to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
Okay.
All
fun,
right.
bro.
Um, I'm gonna go real quick because I have. It feels like I haven't been on this podcast in like a decade. It really has. I know we took a week
Mm.
last off, a week off last week. But it feels like I haven't really been on this podcast in a bit.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
and I think it shows in the kind of stuff that I have because I actually have had time to geek out over 6 different things. But I'm gonna
Oh.
be real quick.
Okay.
3 of them, interestingly, are Apple TV shows, and 3 of them are Netflix shows.
Okay.
Um, the Apple TV shows that I've been watching is Foundation. I finally finished Foundation season 2. I mean season 1. I'm sorry,
Mhm,
which is Foundation is a very interesting thing for Apple TV because it's quite obvious they spend a lot, and I mean a lot of money on this show. This is a show that's based on an Isaac Asimov sci-fi novel, one of the classics out there. I also believe this is one that they said that you've heard this phrase before with a lot of different fiction projects. It's unfilmable, right? You know what I'm
mhm,
saying?
Mm.
Um, Foundation is not the type of film if you are, I mean, not the type of series to get into if you're into like Star Wars, which is heavy on action. This is a very methodical and a very well thought out series. There is action, and the action is very good, but it's mostly the premise that drives the story forward. Foundation has a very interesting cast. Jared Harris, you might know him from The Expanse and from the HBO series Chernobyl. Lee Pace is in it, and the other main
mhm,
character is a. I've never seen her before, but her name is Lou Leibel, Leo Bell. And so basically, the story is that this is set in the far future, obviously, and Lee Pace is part of a trilogy of leaders, and they are all cloned from the first leader of the empire. And I say
mhm,
empire, and it's interesting because Star Wars is kind of influenced by this book as well. Um, so there was an original leader of the empire, and he thought himself to be, so important to the universe that he created a hierarchy where there will always be 3. There's going to be a younger version of him, which is called Dawn. There's going to be a middle-aged version of him that's called Empire. And then
mhm.
there's an older version of him called Dusk. And they all rule at the same time, and they are all genetically identical to him. And this is a monarchy that spans generations. We're talking about thousands of years that they've ruled the galaxy.
Mm.
Mhm.
And so Jared Harris's character is a mathematician who uses maths, right,
Mhm.
to predict the fall of the empire. And so he obviously,
That guy's always
the
complaining about something, bro. I love him. I mean, I love
right,
him as an
exactly.
actor, but
And he
he's always
does it
like,
so well.
he's
He
always like,
does
yo,
it so
something's about to
well.
go down real bad, real bad. Trust me. Yeah,
Right.
he's
So
he's
he
awesome.
does it so well, but here it's kind of interesting because as you go further along, you realize that there's an end game for him, and he's been kind of plotting this the entire way. Because
Hmm.
what ends up happening is that obviously the trilogy, the Trinity,
The
rather,
triumvirate.
right? Um, they obviously don't like what he's saying, and they exile him to like a faraway system, and he actually builds a colony there. And so that's where you go forward, and you're going from him building this colony and whatnot, and there are things that happen that you'll see, and I don't want to spoil it, but you also see what's happening back home with the Empire and how things are changing, and the rebels are kind of sensing this whole thing because there was a very public trial when he got sent away, and so there's a lot of politics involved and stuff. It's a very, very interesting show, but it's a show that you really have to kind of like sit down and watch because it's a very methodical show. The pacing is kind of slow if you're, the concepts are interesting, but it is a slow type of show, you
Okay.
know.
So it's sort of
um
like The Expanse.
in a sense, yes, in
Okay.
a sense. So
Sounds
it's a
cool.
very, very good sci-fi show. You just have to take your time with it, right?
Okay. Hmm.
The other show that I was watching was The Morning Show. Morning Show also just finished its season 2, and that's a very interesting show. The first season of The Morning Show was very, very good. The second one kind of meandered a little bit. And The Morning Show stars both.
What is it?
um
Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, Steve
no, no,
Carell is on it, right?
the Steve
Oh, no,
Carell
that's
is
the
on
wrong
it.
show. Sorry. Reese,
No,
that's the
Reese
that's
Witherspoon is
Bombshell.
on it. Yeah,
That's Bombshell. That
Reese
had Nicole Kidman.
Witherspoon is on it.
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston is on it. Billy
Hmm.
Crudup, Mark Duplass, like you said. Um, what's his name?
Steve
Darn
Carell.
it, you just found it. Yes, Steve Carell.
Steve
Steve
Carell.
Carell's on it,
Yeah. Hmm.
and so that is kind of like it follows oh, who's the anchor
Isn't it?
from NBC?
Isn't it Regis and
Mark.
Kathy Lee the show? No, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, no, no.
What is
Really,
it? What is it about?
it kind of mimics Matt Lauer's Fall from Grace.
Oh,
It's
Matt
that
Lauer
type of
when he
show.
was like with the button and all that crazy stuff that we won't we won't mention, I guess, to keep it PG. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Steve Carell's character is obviously the
Wow.
one that's targeted. And this is in the midst of the Me Too movement and stuff like that. And
He's like a Matt Lauer analog, is what you're saying?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
it deals with Jennifer Aniston dealing with that, and then bringing on Reese Witherspoon onto the show as her co-host, and the whole politics behind that. Like I said, the first season is fantastic. The second one, I feel like they tried to grab too many issues out there. So they deal with not only the Me Too movement, but they deal with racial inequity in Hollywood. They also
Hmm.
are dealing with COVID at the time because
Hmm.
during season 2, it's right around the start of COVID,
Yeah.
and so
We
they're
decided to write
dealing
it in
with
there, I guess.
a lot of issues, and I think season 2 kind of got a little bloated, but it's still a fantastic show. So if you do get a chance to watch it, I really suggest it. The other one is a show that we are watching with the kids now, and that's Calls.
Oh, okay. Thank
What
God.
is that?
uh,
That's the only one I haven't heard of that
Mm.
one.
you have to really get on it, and it's a very quick thing. The episodes are about 15 to 20 minutes long, and they are audio episodes.
Okay.
So this is a show that's done by Fede Alvarez. You should know him because he's a big horror guy. He did the remake for The Evil Dead and stuff like that. And the amount of people
Hmm.
that are on this show is staggering. I mean, we're talking Lily Collins, Aubrey Plaza, Nick Jonas, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Mark Duplass, Clancy Brown, Rosario Dawson.
Hmm.
Um, there is the star Pedro Pascal is on the show. Stephen
Ayo.
Lang, Karen Gillian.
Eh.
I mean, the star power that's on this show is amazing. But it's taken in the vein where all you're hearing is phone calls. You don't see any of the actors because there are graphics on the screen that
Hmm.
kind of, they're like waves, like audio waves and stuff like that. That's the whole show.
It's like visualization and somebody speaking about something, I guess, at the same
It's
time.
all phone calls. It's all
Okay.
phone calls. That's why it's called calls. But the premise is very interesting because it has a sci-fi horror take to it in a sense. And at first they seem disconnected, but much like the What If series of Marvel, they connect toward the end, you know.
Like American Horror Story or something like that. There's a connection that's
Yeah.
there if you're looking hard
And,
enough.
and not to get too deep into it, the calls do deal with time and space and multiverses and different dimensions. So
Hmm.
if that's your kind of your bag, you definitely need to watch Calls, because
Bro.
it is a very interesting concept and it's done very, very well. Um, I am not sure if a season 2 is on its way. There is some talk that they do want to get season 2 up and running, but
Mhm.
with COVID and everything, I don't know if they're going to do it. And like I said, the star power in the show is amazing, so I can imagine that it's a very costly show to make as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I would
so
imagine
those
that
are the,
is the case.
those are the Apple TV things that I've been watching. The three Netflix stuff, and I'll get through those really quick. Um, and this is something that I mentioned on our group chat the other day. If
Mhm.
you're not watching Arcane League of Legends, I don't know what you're doing.
I
Because
had
if you're
I had
if
no idea what that
No.
was
oh,
until like
I've
a
been
couple of
way
days ago.
yeah,
I mean, I know what League of Legends is, but mhm.
I had been watching the project for a while, and when it came out, they did it a very interesting way. It's 9 episodes, but they dropped it in 3 episode blocks.
Which is something
So
Netflix rarely does. Actually, that's interesting.
right,
They usually
but
just
it's
binge it.
really really cool the way they did it, because that first three is like it's an amazing start, and
So it's like
this
the movie that we got from Bad Batch, but like it actually continues to be good after
yep.
the movie.
And I haven't finished the series yet. I will say that I'm
Mhm.
up to episode 6, I believe, and
Yeah.
they just dropped the last 3 episodes on Friday. So,
Okay.
um, but so far, I mean, first of all, it's visually stunning. Like you see this, and it's unlike any anime. It's almost as if you're looking at an oil painting come to life.
Is it in the
You know?
genre of anime?
Yes,
Is
it
that the genre?
is.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's
it is.
Japanese. I didn't know that either. I don't know anything about this
It
backstory.
is not Japanese. At least
They
I don't
probably
think
have a
so.
Japanese. They probably have a
Oh,
Japanese
absolutely, absolutely.
sub as well, or subtitles and all that. But
And the thing about it is that right now it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes,
10 on IGN.
10 on IGN. If you look at Metacritic, I believe it's like 97 or 98, and if you look at just fan ratings, it's through the roof. And I mean, League of Legends is not a game that's really known for its story, but the story here is so compelling. I mean, it's visually stunning, but the story, there are moments in that show that I find myself holding my breath.
Mhm.
And the show, unlike Foundation, which is methodical, this drops you into the action and it does not stop. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So again, I highly, highly, highly recommend everybody to go watch Arcane, because this is something that people are going to look back and look at this in the vein of some of those classic animated shows. You know,
I don't want to move like too quickly beyond it without at least can you tell us a very very quickly what it's about, kind of like just
so
a super quick synopsis.
absolutely. And so the thing about it is that the again is based on the game, and it's funny because a lot of people have now kind of League of Legends is a very very popular game. It's one of the most popular
Mm-hmm.
multiplayer MMO games out there and stuff like that, right?
One of the most popular
But
multiplayer
people
games in
have
the world.
actually
Period.
gone back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous how many people are
Mm-hmm.
playing League of Legends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the thing about it is that people actually have gone back, and the fan base of that game has expanded, because now they're taking these secondary characters and making them full blown im- important characters in the show, and people are actually going back to play as them. That's how
Mm-hmm.
impactful the show is, right? So the show is based around this fictional, obviously, kingdom called, I believe it's Piltover, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a class class versus class type of situation. Piltover is the city that's technologically advanced,
Mm-hmm.
and has all the everybody there is rich and stuff like that. And then where our characters Powder and Viv um reside, those are the
Mm-hmm.
main characters. They live in the underground, a place called the Lanes, right? And they're
Okay.
basically they're 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 kind of they're thieves, because you know what, you can't do anything else. There's no money, so you
Okay.
resort to stealing, right? And so they eventually there's a power struggle there, and there are these blue little cubes that they steal, And those are the things that are actually, they're called hex cubes, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they are the key to providing the entire world unlimited power. They're kind of like the MacGuffin where you can use this thing to power anything. Power weapons, power infrastructure, power whatever you can think of. These things work for that.
Okay.
They can also be weapons of destruction, which you see in the very first episode.
It's like Final Fantasy or something like that a little bit. There's
It
very much
is,
a similar theme in
and
that.
if you look at the setting, it's very
Step specific.
steampunkish, very
Yeah,
steampunkish. It's just like Final Fantasy, so you can make that clear connection there also, right?
the steampunk. Yeah. Okay.
So not to spoil too much, there are people there that have certain agendas where they want to take down Piltover because the oppression of the rich people and the oppression of the stuff, and that kind of drives everything. And you see the show in the vein of both Powder and Vi, and very early on you Powder is obviously the older sister. Vi is the very, very much younger sister of
Okay.
the group. And there's a thing that happens that kind of separates them both, you know, in terms of family and philosophically and stuff like that. And that's where the third episode ends, and it continues from there. Like I said, it's a awesome story. It's emotional. It's exciting. I'm telling you, you have to watch Arcane. You know.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
League of
the
Legends show. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
the last two, and I'm gonna go through this real quick. Midnight Mass by Mike Flanagan on Netflix is an amazing horror show. If you know Mike Flanagan, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite horror directors. He's done things such as the Shining sequel, Doctor Sleep. He's done the two
Mm-hmm.
Netflix original shows, The Haunting of Hill House and its sequel. I can't remember the name of that. And he's done things such as Hush on Netflix.
Bly House.
And he's done Bly House. Yes, thank you. That's second anthology show in the vein of Haunting of Hill House. He's done the excellent Netflix horror film Hush, and he just continues with Midnight Mass. And Midnight Mass, that is one I cannot spoil because you have to watch it.
Oh
It's
my
a
gosh.
brooding. It's one of these shows that kind of gets into your bones if you like horror, and it's super creepy and super brooding, and you can tell that something really, really bad is going to happen. And it's set in a New England town, an island off the shore of the mainland. So they're
New England.
isolated.
What is
Yeah,
this guy?
they're
Stephen King? Like that's where
I'm
Stephen King
telling
does
you,
all of his
he's great.
stories.
And it's funny because this is a show that comes entirely from his own mind, because this is a kind of like a little short story that he wrote maybe 10-15 years ago, and he's always wanted to write it. And he actually, I
Mhm.
believe, pitched it to Netflix, and originally they said no. And
Oh,
once he had the success of Hill House, then they were like, okay, well, you know what, maybe we'll revisit it. And I'm glad they did, because the show is fantastic.
Amazing, bro.
Netflix turning
Amazing.
down a show. That's the first I've heard of
Yeah,
that.
I know. So again, if you're a horror fan, you really need to check out Midnight Mass. Again, it's a very slow moving show, but trust me, the payoff is worth its weight in gold, or in blood in this particular case.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last show, and I'll like I said, I'll make this brief, and maybe the kids can kind of jump in on this. We've been watching Narcos.
No, that was my geek.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so this is a
Oh,
perfect time. I'm going to
segue.
segue into Eli,
yeah.
because he can talk about his favorite Netflix show, and that's Narcos. And Narcos tells the story of Pablo Escobar.
Yes.
It's 3 seasons, right? 10 episodes each
Yeah.
season.
3 seasons.
We're up to season
Season
two,
2.
episode 6, I believe.
Mhm.
That doesn't sound wrong.
Yeah, I can't say it.
So we're like mid season 2, right?
Yeah. But
Narcos,
oh my
right?
gosh, Narcos. Okay, Narcos. How do I start this?
Well, let's talk about the cast first,
Okay,
because the
yeah,
cast
the
is like
cast.
super, super awesome. The cast includes Wagner Mora, who plays the title role of Pablo Escobar. You have Pedro Pascal as a
Javier.
DEA agent, along with Boyd Holbrook, who basically the story is told from his perspective because he provides the voiceover for the entire show. So you're kind of living the world of Narcos through his eyes, right? Um, so set back in the cocaine wars of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What? Who was a president around that time?
Originally the president, I believe, was
Reagan,
George
right?
Bush.
Reagan
It was
too.
Oh, was
Reagan
yes,
Reagan.
because
yeah,
that's
you're
how the
right.
show
First
It
started.
Reagan.
started, yes, it started with Reagan. It transitioned into Bush the first,
Yeah.
the older Bush,
The old
Daddy
Bush.
Bush. You know, yeah, but
But oh my gosh, it is insane.
I'll
I
let you take
mean,
over.
oh my gosh, there's no words to describe. Okay, it's like it's sort of. I'm not gonna say it can be slow at some points, but for the most part, like when it gets to the suspense,
Dude,
there's suspense, and holy crap, oh my gosh. I mean, it's obviously a very political show you're talking about.
It's real life events,
Yeah,
right?
it's real life events, so it is what it is. I mean,
Can you speak a little bit about how insane Pablo Escobar is?
oh my gosh.
And
I
the
mean,
things that he
oh,
Dude.
manages
bro.
to do on that show,
He's
which
just
it's crazy because it happened in real life,
I
right?
know, and it's like so deranged, bro. I swear. I mean, y'all obviously heard of him buying hippos and stuff, having like his whole stash, but like
I
still
did
a
the
not
problem to
actually.
this day.
yeah, but but
What?
yeah, he had like a freaking stash of hippos, like
And they're still running around Colombia.
yeah, it's insane.
Like seriously.
It's
They
crazy.
just recently I saw on the news they found a way to kind of like try to get them under control as a population because they are an invasive species.
Hmm.
Mm.
So it's like, what?
Oh
So
my god.
Colombian hippos, people, thanks to Pablo Escobar.
He brought them
But bro,
to
the
that
things he
ecosystem.
does,
Hmm.
the things
Mhm.
he does though is brutal as all hell. I mean, at the beginning, I would say like he was brutal, but like he didn't. He was
He
dog.
didn't
Yeah,
he didn't have a flair for the grand.
yeah, but like when everything went down, like what went down? Oh my gosh! Like one of my favorite characters. Shoot, I shouldn't even say his name, right?
No, you can.
Okay. Colonel.
Carillo.
Just
Cario.
don't say what happens to him.
Yeah, but bro,
My
he is a
God.
legend for what he did, bro. An absolute legend. But the things that went down after all of that was insane. And things just keep going off the rails
It
with
just
how far people are
it
willing to
keeps escalating.
I know people are willing to cross the line to either catch Escobar or to continue your business going.
It's like El
And
Chapo, kind of.
El
That's
Chapo. Yeah.
your most similar modern analog in terms of like somebody that like is above the law. This big, massive drug dealer in
Yeah,
South and
bro.
Central America that does all these crazy things, like building a huge tunnel to escape. Like I haven't
Bro.
seen Narcos, but I have a few friends that watch it, and just remembering the
Bro.
history is just kind of crazy.
Listen,
You gotta watch it though.
just the fact that Pablo Escobar, first of all, ran for president of Colombia,
Oh
but
my
not only that, when he actually surrendered himself to the authorities, but the conditions of that was that he gets
oh
to
my
build his
gosh.
own jail. He gets to have his own what
Own
own officers, own
guards.
guards
Yeah.
there, handpicked by himself. He gets to have everything built to his specifications, which included in this jail a soccer field, a pool,
Oh well, they didn't know about
uh,
that though.
an
But yeah.
entertainment room,
But he
right?
did do that.
A
Yeah.
gold toilet, which is significant to the story.
Oh my
You know what I'm saying?
god.
All of these things that he was able to accomplish, and literally, and the thing that any law enforcement could not be next to the jail for around what, a 10-mile radius.
Yeah. Like
Bro,
not even military, nothing.
to say that he turns every defeat into a victory is a complete understatement. Oh my gosh, this dude, bro.
It is ridiculous.
This is
The ruler of
it's
Colombia, basically.
it's obviously like very. I mean, it's
It's like the
more
Wild West.
yeah, I know. It's very dramatic, bro. And if you're looking for things like where it's always like, I don't know how to say it. This is a full on drama show. That's all you need to know.
Suspense, drama,
Yeah.
intrigue, madness, murder,
Oh my God.
all that
Over
good
the
stuff.
topness.
Plata
Or plomo.
o plomo.
Yes. That is such an amazing
There
line.
you go.
That's Narcos.
All right. So Jose, what do you got cooking?
All right, so let me jump into this as quickly as I can. I don't have as many things to geek out about as y'all do recently, but
Yeah, I had a lot. I apologize. There was so many things I wanted to talk about.
I'll tell you what I'm not geeking out about.
Let me guess.
The Grand Theft Auto trilogy is trash, garbage.
See,
We've
I
heard
told
that.
y'all. I told y'all, bro.
No, you didn't. You were the one
No,
who was geeking out
were
about
the
it
one
more
who was
than
like,
anybody
no.
else.
Hold on.
ahead
No,
of
we're not
remember-
retconning this tip.
Hold on.
No.
Hold
I
on.
won't allow this. You
I
were
told
geeking
you.
out about this so
Hold
hard.
on. Let me
And
finish my
me and
sentence.
Wolfie were the one who
Bro.
was like, "These graphics are terrible."
No,
There were fan made
oh my,
mods that were better than this.
No. Let me finish my
I'm gonna pull up
sentence.
the recording and put
Oh
it
my
in
gosh. No. Okay, let me finish my sentence. I said that I was hyped for it, but I told you guys that it was too expensive. Like what you were getting out of it wasn't equal to the amount because you had the modding community who was doing way better stuff.
He did say that.
I did say that, did I not?
I brought up the modding community. Are we sure about? Anyway, it don't matter. Go ahead. Talk your talk.
Bro, oh
Go ahead.
Yeah, whatever.
Well,
I can pull up the recording. I brought up the modder community on this one.
Yeah, I know.
That's
but
okay.
The
Go ahead.
GTA trilogy has been rife with problems and stuff, which you alluded
It's
to.
garbage.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you what. Like
I'm
I've
glad
been
I
watching
never
some
played it.
videos.
Bugs galore.
Like I like to like kind of watch some videos sometimes to be like, what went wrong with this particular piece of software? And from what I understand it's the developer that created the game is not Rockstar. Rockstar is not going back and recreating their game all over again. They asked another developer to work on this. I don't remember the name of the developer, but this developer is the one that made all of the mobile ports of Grand Theft Auto. So basically, what people believe is these are ports not of the originals, but of the mobile games. And that's why they're so terrible.
Lord.
They ported mobile games over to console. It's just a theory. It's just a theory. But you have seen how bad that game looks, how bad it runs. Like, I literally downloaded it. I saw the reviews. I saw the bugs. I deleted it 10 minutes later. I was like, I'm not playing this. It's garbage. So that's one. I'm not geeking out about that. I just have to give like a little salt to Rockstar for thinking that they can sell people a crappy product like this. Really messed up, especially when Rockstar has such great products most of the time, and they do not skimp. The fact that they allowed another company to do this is pretty terrible. This can be a somewhat shared geek out. Everything I've been doing is gaming recently. I won't even mention Battlefield. Obviously, I've been playing that. I went through the 10-hour trial in 6 days. Forza Horizon 5 has been ridiculous amount of fun. Ludicrous amount of fun. The graphics are freaking amazing. To me, this is probably, I mean, I haven't gotten a lot of the most recent Xbox Series X games, but this is one that really showcases the console. The graphics, the audio is fantastic. The draw distances are unbelievable. Like, it's really impressive how far you can see off into the horizon in this game on the open world. The racing is fun. I mean, it's really cool because it's like, it's not simulation, right? Like Gran Turismo, nothing like that, or like the Forza main series. It's a little more arcadey, but like it's got like such a great feel that balances good simulation elements with like arcade style racing. The amount of vehicles you can get is so cool. I've driven like a tow truck in this game so far. So like Forza Horizon 5, like in terms of like Xbox Series X games, like I think it was the biggest. Wasn't it the biggest launch ever for like an Xbox game or something like that on Game Pass? I think something like that was what I read in the news recently. So like everybody's playing this game. A lot of people purchased this game. It's got great online play, and I'm almost kind of like I'm excited to get back to maybe me and Walt getting our crazy races in Dodge Vipers again in Forza Horizon 5. We'll see if we can get some time for that. But yeah, Forza Horizon 5 has been freaking awesome so far, and everybody should play it if you haven't already, because I think pretty much everybody has played it already. I think it was 10 million players or something like that, 10 million downloads or something ludicrous
#1, right?
On day one, yeah, which is really, really exciting, really, really, really awesome.
It does help that it was on Game Pass also, right?
Yeah. This is the thing that I think this and Halo is going to push Game Pass to a new level, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna get a lot more people in on that subscription service, because they're gonna see the value when you have a triple A like game that's the highest rated game of the year, by the way, in Forza Horizon 5. People are gonna flock to that. People are gonna say like, well, I don't have an Xbox, maybe, but like maybe I should get one, or maybe I should get Game Pass so I could play this on my PC, stream it on my PC, because Microsoft has that strategy. So I guess in order to close out my geek out, the other game that I just mentioned, Halo Infinite, I've been playing the multiplayer, and oh man, it is buttery smooth. So much fun. I've never been a huge fan of Halo multiplayer. You guys all know that I'm into the Gears of Wars and the Battlefields and all that. I'm not even a big Call of Duty fan.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely dabbled in Halo multiplayer, and it's fun. There's something about like this multiplayer that's like somehow even a little bit better than past Halo games. Maybe it's because maybe it's because I spent more time with it and I've gotten a little bit better than I have been at past Halo games. But like, it's just a smooth experience. 60 frames per second in Halo is awesome in multiplayer. And some of the new gadgets really add to the gameplay. Plus, like, I know that AJ, you had an issue with this, but I'm happy that they were able to update the controls to those of a modern first-person shooter. I know you like Halo's classic controls, but if you're not pulling left trigger to aim in a first-person shooter, it ain't a first-person shooter to me. And I'm glad that they finally put that in Halo. Like having to click in the right stick, like that's so wonky. Think about clicking in the right stick and then having to aim at the same time. Like it's a bad control setup. You gotta come to the new century, my friend. Like AJ, this is how shooters are meant to be played. Even third-person shooters know that. But yeah, like I'll leave it at that. If you want to give some thoughts, AJ, feel free. I know you haven't played it yet. You could tell me that I'm wrong and I'm stupid and that's not how first-person shooters should be. But I will close my geek out there and leave it at that, and leave it open to anybody else that wants to jump in on that and tell me how they feel. Anybody?
Nah.
Anybody?
Yeah,
you got to play it first.
You don't
I gotta try it.
that.
I think he needs to play it first before he can speak on that.
You got to play it first.
Because there's a difference between saying it and actually doing it. So
I mean, just so you know, AJ, it runs really, really well on the Xbox One X. It's running at more than 30 frames per second, really, really solid resolution. So, like, it's not just for some people that I know have been waiting for the next gen, just because they don't want to play a less complete version of Halo, but it runs really, really well from what I've heard on Xbox One X. I'm playing it on Series X, as y'all know, but worthwhile.
I actually tried it on Xbox One, and it works pretty well also. It probably doesn't look as good as it does on your machine, being that you have the Series X. But it for the limited time that I tried it, it was very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's more than playable. That's for sure. It's very playable. There's no issues with playability.
Yeah.
Multiplayer includes couch co-op, right?
No,
right? It's only online.
Here's the update on that.
Out?
No. Wow. Here's the update on that. They didn't take it out. It is delayed until May, as well as Forge being delayed until May. So you're getting the single player experience on December 8th, as was stated before. And the multiplayer is officially a beta. This is not officially the release of the game, right? But it's for all intents and purposes, it is the game, multiplayer game. But like, they're pushing back Forge and couch co-op until May of 2022. So
wait, and also multiplayer, you can't do like PvP as in PvP in the same.
That's
split
couch
screen?
co-op.
Yeah, that's couch co-op, right?
Yeah, that's pushed back. So that's gone for now.
Stupid.
I mean, it'll be in it eventually. So we'll look forward to that at some point. But yeah, like I said, that's my geek out. So we should probably speak on them things that are our main topic of the week. What do you guys want to start with? I guess is the question. So unfortunately, Wolfie was not able to join us for the podcast this week, but he did record some thoughts. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Wolfie.
So, I just landed from my 2-week trip out west. I was in Vegas competing in the IBJJF World's Masters, and spent another week in LA training with my professor. Those of you guys that know me know that I do jiu-jitsu, have an academy, and it was basically a work trip, but I didn't want to miss out on the Geek Outs, and so here I am. Anyway, so my thoughts on Cowboy Bebop and the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Let me start with Cowboy Bebop. I only got a chance to see the first episode, but the series is one of my favorite animated series of all time. And I had such high hopes for the show because I love John Cho, and I think like all the stuff coming out of it before the show looked awesome. You know, the costume design, everything looked really, really cool. But man, I am so disappointed by this first episode. I have no motivation to continue watching the show, to be honest with you, because already they're retelling the show, obviously, in their own image. But the show didn't need any retelling. I think that, like, this is one of those shows that if you're going to bring to live action, bring it to live action, but don't change how the story has been told. And they had such a departure from the animated show where, you know, we're finding out things already in the very first episode that we aren't supposed to find out until much later, which is what kind of gives the show its gravitas, that we find out these little tidbits about who Spike Spiegel is little by little, not all in the first episode. And I know that, like, they don't give us everything in the first episode, but between the flashbacks, between his connection to the syndicate and so on and so forth, I feel like we missed the opportunity to actually fall in love with Spike Spiegel, the character, before we find out who he actually is, what his backstory is. And that's really, really disappointing to me. I also am not a fan of Faye Valentine's character, not because of the actress, or rather actor, not because of the actor, but because of, one, the way that she was introduced, which is not how she was introduced in the show, and two, because I don't see the necessity for the all the foul language. I know that she is very abrasive on the show, which is her character. She's sassy and abrasive, but all the cursing is really, really out of character, and it's jarring, to be honest with you. There's something that kind of goes on in anime, in the anime world, where cursing and foul language is kind of what the villains do, and it's not what the heroes do. And I know that, like, they're bounty hunters, so they kind of, like, are not exactly, you know, on the side of good or bad, but from the perspective of storytelling, they're the heroes. And in the anime world, that's a very stark difference. And I feel like if you are a fan of anime, I feel like the amount of foul language that's used by her on the show is kind of a little bit jarring. It just doesn't make sense for the character, and I don't know why they made that choice. Outside of that, I do think that there's some positives. I know that I can see how they're trying to give it the same look and feel of the animated show, but there's something that's a little bit jarring with that too, where when it comes from a cinematography standpoint, I think that it doesn't work that well when you bring it to live action. Like certain camera angles and certain stylistic things, they just don't work from the live action perspective. Where I think that, you know, some twisted over the top or over the shoulder kind of bird's eye view camera angles don't make sense in the live action. Maybe here and there you can sporadically use it to give it a little bit of the anime feel. But if you know, I think that it would have been better to have a little bit more of a traditional approach to the cinematography, because it's too jarring, you know. It's too jarring. The reason these things are used in the anime space, with certain camera angles, certain facial expressions, and things like that, is because we're looking at a 2D piece, right? This is just lines and colors on a blank 2D page. Whereas when you're watching a live action show, you have depth and shadows and lighting and stuff like that. And in that space, I feel like that approach of like the hard camera angles and twists and turns and things like that don't really play so well. So I I'm really really upset that that it's fallen so flat. Like I literally have no. I finished the first episode and I had no motivation. I have no motivation to continue watching it. I'm gonna see it anyway, but I don't see why I would see the show when I already know that the source material is so much better. You know, I didn't expect it to be better than the animated version of it. However, I didn't expect it to be this far from it either. So that's very upsetting. Now, on to Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, the trailer, everyone here should already know by now that I absolutely hate watching trailers. This is one of those trailers that I do kind of make an exception because it's such big news and it's impossible for me to get away from. And I saw the trailer. I did love the trailer. I thought it was awesome, but then I made the mistake of watching it a second time. And man, I am so upset that I saw it a second time because I love everything that I see from it. But now there's certain things that are spoiled. I mean, of course, I already knew that there were certain things that were going to happen. Most likely, like having the three Spider-Men, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are pretty much confirmed to be showing up. The trailer confirms it. I wish they didn't do that because even though everyone expects that to happen, you don't want that confirmation, I think, until you actually see the movie. So it's very upsetting that that's there. And spoiler alert, real quick, if you haven't seen the trailer, or if you missed this, I'm pretty confident, I'm like 99% sure that I see Venom make an appearance. And that's really upsetting to me too, because I know that there's a connection. If you saw Let There Be Carnage at the end, there's the connection between the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man and everything. But I don't want to know that he's gonna be in the movie until I see the movie. I already know I'm gonna see it. Everyone is going to see Spider-Man already. That's a tidbit of information that I didn't need to see. Not to mention that if you're gonna show me this dramatic scene of Mary Jane falling from a tower and Spider-Man going to save her and rescue her, don't show me Venom pretty much about to rescue her. Because now you just told me that, oh, she doesn't die. So I don't know. I may be completely wrong here. It may not be Venom. Maybe she doesn't make it. I hope she does, because I do not want to go through what I went through emotionally with Gwen Stacy. But yeah, this is exactly why I hate watching trailers, because I love the trailer and I love everything that I saw about it, but I hate that I've been spoiled on some really crucial things. I don't want to have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield confirmed. I don't want to know that Venom is in there until I actually see it. And I don't want you to show me one of the most dramatic parts of the film that I'm expecting to be, and then pretty much show me that she makes it. The drama of that scene is now going to be gone from me when I see it. So unless this is a bait and switch, Marvel does do this, I don't know. So, and again, I could be completely wrong about all of this, but this is why I hate watching trailers. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the cast, and stay geeky.
Let's start with Spider-Man, because I think that's the one that everybody's like super excited about. And Cowboy Bebop is a thing that I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen enough of it to speak on it, but I do have some thoughts on it. But we can get into that later. But how about that Spider-Man No Way Home trailer?
There we go.
Hey, yo.
Green
mean-
Goblin unchanged. That's what I'm talking about.
Not totally unchanged, but
Well,
mostly
yeah, I
unchanged.
know, but like in terms of like the design of his
Mhm.
costume and stuff is what I mean.
It's basically the same. They just like messed around with some of the finer edges, and I think they took a little bit of the shininess away from the, or is it the vice versa? Like it's not the same sheen as it was in the Tobey Maguire movies, but like
I
it
know.
looks good. It's a good update. And
For
like
sure.
actually, speaking of updates in costumes, Electro, man, like he
Oh,
looks
yeah.
so
Thank God.
much
You look so
better. You guys
Oh
spotted that
my
moment.
gosh.
You had to leave it. You had to leave it to Marvel Studios to fix that.
Well, you guys spotted the moment in the trailer when he had his mask, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, with the electricity and all.
Oh
Yeah,
my
with the
God,
electricity
that's
forming the electric
awesome.
star on his face.
I mean,
Like,
like I
Oh.
said, again, leave it to
chef's
Marvel
kiss.
Studios to take their property and fix it properly. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
There we go.
Because I think that's one of the biggest points that a lot of people had with Jamie Foxx's portrayal of Electro in, what was it, Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
As
him too.
Yeah, he looked weird, man. You know,
Oh my
he was
gosh.
basically
And like the hair that he had before he became, like, what was with the comb over?
totally
Like,
strange.
what?
You know,
He looks
So-
normal. He looks like he has normal hair in this one. Like, did he get like air plugs? Like, what happened to this
Yeah.
man?
I don't know, man. Maybe he was like, you know what? I'm a supervillain. I got to start looking like one.
Yeah. You have to join the hair club for men. Look like
Exactly,
a supervillain
you know?
instead
like,
of
none of
looking
it-
like goofy Dr. Manhattan or whatever the heck he was
Yeah.
supposed to look like before.
You know what was the most surprising thing of the trailer was for me is how much they and again, you know, it's we're getting a trailer so we don't know completely, but how much of a focus there is on Dr. Octopus, you know?
He's gonna be a good guy. I have
Yeah,
theories.
it almost seems like that, right?
He's gonna be a good
Because,
guy.
like,
I don't see how he's not.
and I love the line where he's like, "Wait, you're not Peter Parker." Right?
What about when they ask him his name? So what was your name again? Dr.
Yeah.
Otto Octavius. And then
They
all the
start
kids start
laughing.
laughing at him.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
But I, like I said, I do find it surprising that Doc Ock is going to be and I actually like it because you know what? One
I
thing
am
that we can say
waiting
about
for
the Tobey Maguires, the second one was always the far superior one, and I have to say that a lot of it has to do with Alfred Molina's portrayal of Doctor Octopus in that
Mhm.
movie. You know,
Yeah.
and so for them to take the focus and make No Way Home a Doc Ock movie, kind of in a way, right?
Mhm.
Is genius, right?
For
Well,
Pure
sure.
genius.
let's break down what we know about the story so far. At least this is what I understand about the story so far. So it seems that like whatever caused Doctor Strange's spell to go awry, as we can see in the trailer, brings in at least 5 villains, maybe a 6, and we'll speculate about that in a couple of minutes.
Peter Parker that couldn't shut up during the spell.
See, but I don't know if it's that. I think
No, I know that's what the trailer leads you to believe, right?
I think the trailer leads you to believe that, but I still think that this is, as much as people wanted to say that you didn't need to watch the shows. I think this is going to tie into the moment when Wanda becomes a Scarlet Witch and when they cross the threshold in Loki. Because I think I actually read the other day, and I don't know if it's confirmed 100%, but they explain that those moments are actually tied together. The moment that he realizes the threshold has been crossed is the moment that she becomes the Scarlet Witch. So that's probably the moment that all this stuff happens. It's not 100% confirmed from what I believe, but like there's some interesting theories out there. And if you guys go and watch on YouTube, there's a video that syncs up those two scenes. As soon as she becomes the Scarlet Witch, like if you sync it up properly, and I know you could sync it up in a way that makes it look that way, but as soon as she becomes the Scarlet Witch is when he says we cross the threshold and his head turns. And if you look carefully, there's a hint of red that starts to get brighter in that scene as well. I'm talking about the scene in Loki with Immortus, King the Conqueror. But like the theory in this
wouldn't
movie,
doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it at all. I mean, they have to tie all this stuff together in some way. But
Right,
the theories are that they end up getting brought to their universe, to the MCU, because of this spell gone awry. And I kind of like the idea. See, I really, really like where they're going with this in terms of story, because from what we know so far, you have the 5 villains. You have confirmed Electro, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Lizard, and Sandman, who we haven't seen Thomas Hayden Church. I'm hoping it's
No.
him. I would assume
They
that it would
have
be
to.
him.
They have
It
Come
has to be him.
on.
Yeah, exactly. If you're bringing everybody else back, why wouldn't you? You know.
But see,
The-
the only thing with that is like Dr. Octopus, where they left him off, he was a good guy.
Yeah,
So
he
this is
didn't, and he
kinda
did not
weird.
die. He did not die.
No, he
So
didn't.
that's
No, he walked
and he
away.
wasn't about to die either, because remember, that's the thing that Doctor Strange says, they're all destined to go back and die at the hands of Spider-Man.
Which is weird.
Right? So that's a little bit odd, but I actually kind of love the twist in this one, in that Spider-Man is trying to save these villains' lives rather than trying to like defeat them and kill them. And I really, really like how they kind of jumped off from Far From Home, and how he feels that remorse for killing Mysterio if he's dead.
Mhm.
Right? Because he could be the 6th member of the Sinister Six. I have other theories, but he could be number 6 possibly, right?
But he
But like,
died.
I like that how they're playing off
Maybe.
of that remorse from the last one. I really, 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 really am enjoying that. And yeah, I mean, I think from what we see of the story so far, it looks absolutely amazing. I have some theories about the 6th villain, but I kind of want to hear some quick thoughts from y'all on what you thought of the trailer. Just basic
Well,
characters, whatever. Mm-hmm.
there is one thing I have been seeing rumbling online. There might, and I showed you this too. The 6th one might be the 2nd Green Goblin. Because remember,
Yeah.
I showed you,
Mm-hmm.
Eli, the one where it's Harry Osborn, and he's on the ski surfboard, and he has the sword.
No, don't
You
do
know,
that.
Yes.
There's no, we
Yeah.
don't know that it's Harry Osborn though, because it's a very unclear shot. It looks like him, but it could be somebody else. It could be Willem Dafoe without a mask on. It could be Dane DeHaan Goblin.
No, please.
I hope not,
Oh no.
but it could be
No.
him too.
Oh no.
The glider looks more like Dane DeHaan's glider than it does
Oh
Yeah,
James
God, no,
Franco's
please
glider.
we don't need
stop.
that.
Don't,
We don't
no,
need
no,
that.
no.
Don't stop. Yes,
And-
don't
No,
stop.
No, stop
Don't
this.
stop. Continue,
Stop it.
continue.
No.
And remember, James Franco is not in good company right now. He was accused of abusing and assaulting women in the past, so he's not really making films right now. Unless he did this before that happened, it's probably not him at all. Probably nowhere near him. It's either Willem Dafoe or Dane DeHaan is what it
Dane
most
DeHaan.
likely is.
I don't even know.
But
what
we
that
already
means.
have Willem Dafoe, so that means no.
No, I mean, maybe he's not wearing the mask. You know how, like, in the MCU, sometimes, like, the villains don't wear the mask so that you can get the actor to kind of emote a little bit more and, like, give him more of a chance to perform. I think that's possible. It's possible he's just not wearing the mask in that scene so that he can, you know, really chew on some dialogue.
So
with
then he
Peter.
switches off to out. Yeah, that's the one I really don't
Oh.
want, Eli. No.
Disgusting. What is this? What
He was
is
Hobgoblin, right? Not Green Goblin? He was
Who?
Hobgoblin? Dane DeHaan? You know?
No, he was
No, he
Green
was Green
Goblin
Goblin.
straight up.
Yeah.
There's
Whatever.
the
was
only
terrible.
time you even get close to Hobgoblin is in a throwaway scene from Spider-Man 3 where they not only show the Green Goblin's mask, but they show a variation of that that's silver and gold. And
Reminder. I was reminded
kinda
of
is
something by
this.
that. You know who that could be? That is none of the people that we've mentioned so far? Ned Leeds. In the comic, Ned becomes Hobgoblin at one point. And Ned, the actor who plays Ned, Jacob Batalon, he lost a lot
Yes,
of
he
weight
did.
between this one and the last one. And then, you know, good for him. May just be for health reasons. He looks great. He looked great before. He's freaking awesome. He's one of my favorite parts of these movies. But there are rumors that he's going to come and be Hobgoblin in this film, and that would tie into Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3, with one of his best friends turning against him and becoming a goblin. So it could be him too. It could be him too.
You know what I'm privately wishing? I'm probably wishing for like a Godzilla Final Wars moment
Mhm.
where in that one you had Gino, right? Godzilla in name only, and he's taken out very, very quickly by Godzilla, right?
Yes.
In my mind, I'm hoping Topher Grace makes a comeback in this film.
Gets smacked down.
Smacked real quick.
By Tom Hardy Venom, who probably will be the 6th.
Exactly.
He's probably
That's exactly what I'm going for. You know, I'm
Why do
kinda
you say
hoping
that? Because I have my reasons for why I think that, and it ties
Well,
into other projects. Why do you think that's the
I
case?
haven't seen so I'm gonna
Besides
deal
the
in-
post-credit scene, Because that's obvious, right?
Right.
You haven't seen
I
Venom
think
2.
no, I haven't seen Venom, and I was about to mention that, but I do know about the
Spoilers, right?
post credit scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, eh, and I'm gonna go into the bigger thing of how I think this is gonna end, because you know what, I do believe that, like you said, Tom Hardy is definitely going to show up in this film, and I think that's the reason why you're not seeing that quote unquote sixth villain, right? Because wow, wouldn't that be awesome to see them tie it together? But I think there's a bigger reason why they're going to do that, because I think knowing that, you know, with all of the stuff that's going around with Tom Holland, this is his final go around as Spider-Man here and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the Marvel Studios sense of things, I think there's going to be kind of like him sacrificing himself to kind of save the multiverse and end up in Venom's verse.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Because
That
then, yeah, that
effectively
makes sense. 'Cause
takes
that
him
would
out.
allow Sony
Yeah,
to do what they want. Yeah.
exactly. That takes him out of Marvel Studios in a very, very good way, right? Because you're seeing his sacrifice saving the multiverse, and the multiverse continues to be a thing within the thing, and gives you the opportunity to bring him back, right?
Exactly. He's not dead. So he could come
Exactly.
back if Sony decides to re-ink that deal in 5 years, but they can enjoy their multiverse in the meantime.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, you can stick him in Sony's, what do they call that?
The
Spider-Verse?
Spider-Man cinematic universe or
Yeah,
something.
cinemas of
Whatever.
characters or something like that.
Sony's Spider-Man universe.
Actually, don't even have a name for that.
Yeah, no, they actually do.
They
They do?
Yeah,
They
it
do.
was just that. It's like some super huge, long, 20-minute, taking
I'm going to
type.
look it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a good way to kind of get Spider-Man out of the Marvel Studios, but then introduce him back into Venom's universe and stuff like that, and have them kind of do their own thing, like you said, and gives you the opportunity to bring him back and forth
Here's the
within
name.
the multiverse.
It's the Spumka, the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters. That's the name of it.
Oh
Spumka.
my
Spunk?
lord!
Spunk.
Spumka?
Spump.
Spump.
SPUMC. SPUMC.
Oh God, that is disgusting.
That's never gonna take. By the way,
No.
That is
Just saying.
disgusting.
Nobody's
They should
ever going to use that name.
just call it.
Guaranteed.
Just
It
call
sounds-
it
Are you going to
Sony's
see the next
Spider-Verse.
Spunk universe,
Oh my
man? I mean, the
God.
next Spunk universe movie, man.
No.
Oh yeah, I'm totally going to see
Literally,
the next
just
Spunk
call it
universe
the
movie.
Sony Spider-Verse, the
Yeah.
SSV.
That would make more
MCU,
sense.
DCU,
Yeah, exactly.
Spump.
But that's what I think is going to happen. I think, and like I said, privately, I'm kind of hoping that Topher Grace does make an appearance, and Tom Hardy's Venom does him properly.
Eats him.
Exactly.
Eat him.
And that'll be
Eat
it.
him.
You know what I'm saying? And then we get Tom Hardy as a thing in the Marvel Studios, and you continue that whole storyline in Sony's verse.
Yeah.
There you go. So
What do
that's
you got? What are
my
other
theory.
theories? Because I have a big theory. Unless anybody else wants to jump into this, and then maybe we should try to close out and see what we're gonna say about our final topic of the day. Any other theories from y'all kids? Any other things that you observed in the trailer that you loved?
No one wins. Everybody
one wins?
dies. Doctor Strange reigns supreme.
Ooh.
Strange
Sorcerer
Supreme.
Oh.
Strange Supreme.
Yes.
Oh no,
This
I'm not
is-
talking about. No. I was
Yes,
just
I know.
talking
We
about
know
like
that. We
yeah.
know. Hey, can
Here's
we
my
can we
theory.
talk about something? Oh, yeah, do your
Well,
theory.
wait. What were you gonna say?
I just are we going to talk about Lizard getting smacked by
Yes.
nothing?
Yes.
You got what?
He got
Okay.
punched in the face by nothing in the trailer.
No,
Guys, go
let me
back
see.
to the
Really?
scene.
Let me see.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to find the Brazilian
Okay.
version of the trailer in order for this to work, though. So
I just-
what Walter
Okay,
is
maybe
talking
he's
about,
working with Ant-Man.
what
then?
Walter
I
is
don't know.
talking about is that at the end of the trailer, when you see Tom Holland Spider-Man, he's charging and leaping at Lizard, Electro, and Sandman. Sandman is going to punch Tom Holland. Lizard is jumping at nobody, and he all of a sudden gets punched in the face by nothing.
I just saw it.
What
I
the-
just saw it.
I mean,
That's Andrew Garfield or Venom. It's one of the two. Because here's my theory. My theory
Go for
is
it.
Venom is not a member of the Sinister Six in this movie by the end. He will believe that he is in the beginning, but remember, the way that Sony has been playing Venom in this universe is as an anti-hero, not a villain.
Yep.
So he is going to start, because of how the end credit scene was in Venom 2, where he's obsessed with Spider-Man. He knows who Spider-Man is, because if you guys are aware of what the trailer told, or what the end credit scene said, Venom is now a multiversal hive mind. So he knew who Spider-Man was before they ended up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in that teleportation at the end of the movie. So Venom is now more like he was recently fleshed out in the comics in a very, very big storyline that Marvel just wrapped up a few months ago. And that is the story of Null, the symbiote being.
Oh, yo,
They're
let's
bringing Null
go.
into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I guarantee it, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. First of all, Gore the God Butcher's sword. We know that Gore the God Butcher is being played by Christian Bale in Thor: Love and Thunder. Gore the God Butcher's sword is Null's sword. It was retconned in Marvel Comics to become a sword that Null wielded at one point. Okay? That's number one.
Andre's. I'll just say this: Andre's not a big fan of Null.
Let's
So-
get it.
What's wrong with Null?
Let's freaking get it, bro.
I don't like the idea that the symbiotes have a god. I'm sorry, I don't. That's
Have you
like
seen
saying
the backstory,
xenomorphs
though?
have a god.
This dude kills Celestials with he's likely the being that beheaded the Celestial that was nowhere, because in the comics he took the God Butcher sword and he cut off a Celestial's freaking head like it was nothing. This guy he's a godlike being from before the beginning of creation. How could you not want something like that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? He's as strong as the Celestials. He rips Sentry in half in the comics like he's a joke. He kills everybody like nothing. But the reason, I mean, think about it. What is the best way to actually take Venom out of this Marvel Cinematic Universe if you're bringing him in? Why would you bring him in for one movie? There's no way. And we're all pretty much clear that we think he's going to come into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We know he's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I should say, right? Because the end credit scene put him in there. They're not just going to do it for this one movie. The storyline in the comics ends up being that Eddie Brock saves the universe. So what are they going to do with that? They're going to use that to bring him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe so that he can be the one that stops Null. All right? There's way too many little connections already popping up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including in Eternals. The sword that what's his name? Oh my lord.
Black Knight
pulls out. Don't you think it's a little odd how that sword is moving in that scene? It's a little bit like a symbiote, isn't it? Remember when he reaches out to that sword, what happens?
Oh, bro.
AJ is shaking his head right now. Just so you know.
Get it. Null is coming.
Null is coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm guaranteeing this at this point. I'm calling this now. If we look up in a year and this is proven to be right, and this is not just my theory. I can't say that I'm the only one that claims this theory, but yeah, Null is coming, and this is the setup.
I hope
I
not.
do agree with that, but I think it's in the wrong studio. I think that's gonna end up being in Sony's universe, and
I don't think so because they don't have enough characters. I don't think so.
But
to me, the way that I see it is,
MCU already has Kang. How are you gonna throw out Kang like that and
you don't have to
do anything with it?
You don't have to actually, because if you think about it, Kang is a even bigger threat than Null. Kang is a multiversal being in the most extreme sense. Null is too, but at the same time, I'll tell you what has happened.
I think you're setting up breadcrumbs.
I already figured this one out actually, because here's what's going to happen in my opinion, and then let's move on or see what your guys' final thoughts are on this. You have the Thunderbolts, all right? That's going to be one big villain. I think that's fairly clear. That's going to be the villain for the Earth level heroes, right? Mm-hmm. For the Kate Bishops, and any Earth level heroes are going to take on the Thunderbolts, right? You have your physically powerful heroes like your Thors, like your Captain Marvels. Yeah. They're going to go and take out Null, right? But who is the one that has to take out Kang? It can't be Thor. Thor can't just walk up to him and smack him. It's got to be your smart characters. It has to be your new Iron Mans. It has to be the Marvel characters who are inventors, who can travel through time. So you're going to be able to break it up into three different massive battles that will all tie into each other. But I think that we're going to see this for 2 phases. We're going to see at least 2 phases of this, maybe even 3, until we get to Kang as the ultimate big bad of all of it. But in the meantime, the Thunderbolts are going to threaten Earth. Null is going to threaten the universe. Kang's going to threaten the multiverse. That's my theory. I'll leave it at that.
Hmm.
See, the problematic thing about it, and I would normally agree with you, but given the fact that we're seeing Tom Holland's contract with Marvel Studios ending with this show, and he's already made the case that this is going to be his last run in Marvel Studios. There's no impetus for Sony to release Null into the Marvel Studios universe. That's a character that they hold, you know what I'm saying? They hold all the cards to everything related to Spider-Man. So, that's why I say I believe that I
Null is probably
know,
in a middle ground though, because Null is kind of like a Spider-Man villain, but not really. And
but
so
he resides in that whole Venom type of thing. You're relating him to
yes,
Venom and stuff. He's a symbiote, which
sort
is
of.
intimately tied to Spider-Man. So
I
that's
think
why I
it's weird
say,
legal ground for this one because again, like it was introduced not as a Spider-Man villain, so you could make that argument. But whatever, I'm not going to go over that
yeah,
semantics
yeah,
or
yeah.
those legal
But
things.
that's why I say I think I
I see
think
what you're
for
saying.
them it kind of makes sense to kind of start creating that story. You're dropping the little breadcrumbs here, but have him reside in the Sonyverse with Marvel's blessing, knowing the fact that they can always come to some sort of agreement and bring him in at a later date. That's why I say I think he's better off being in the Sonyverse because you can get him kind of start of his arc there. And if Marvel ever decides, hey, we want to bring this in for phase 4 or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
then you know what? It's a phone call to those guys and say, let's hammer out a deal. Let's bring these guys back because we want to tell that story here. So
Sony
that's
Sony
the
is
only reason why I think Null works better in the Sonyverse because you're already dealing with symbiotes over there. You've got Scream and Carnage and Venom and all the other symbiotes that you've seen in these last two movies. It makes sense for him to be in that universe before you bring him into Marvel Studios.
I don't know.
So that's the only reason why I say that.
well, I will say that Sony needs to massively expand their universe because I don't see anybody giving two craps about like Spider-Man, Morbius, and Craven the Hunter fighting Null. Like I don't see
Yeah.
it. Those are the only movies we
Right.
have so far from Sony. So
Right.
nobody, and plus none of those people would really be involved in that battle except for maybe Spider-Man and
And
maybe
again,
Morbius.
I totally agree with that, and I
So
think that's why
we'll
you
see.
build them up there and then bring them later into the Marvel Studios.
It would have to be that
Once
you kind of build him up in the way that they built up Thanos, where he doesn't do anything. He just shows up and
exactly,
says like, "Yo, Infinity Gauntlet, I got this."
exactly,
That would be the only way it would work.
you set up the breadcrumbs over there to have the bigger story told with Marvel Studios. That's what I was kind of implying to begin with. You know what I'm
I,
saying?
I
So
let's
What if they
do
do? I don't
very
know.
very quick impressions on the last topic of the day. Y'all have seen a couple episodes of this, right? You guys have had a
we
chance to
have
catch one or two.
we've
We're
done two so far.
talking about Cowboy Bebop,
Hey, yeah.
Cowboy Bebop, the live action Netflix show starring John Cho, Mustafa Shakir, and Daniela Pineda. What do you guys think of the show so far? And it's actually good that we're getting your opinion because you guys haven't finished the anime yet. So you don't have necessarily
Correct.
that frame of reference entirely like some other fans of the show or anime would. Go ahead, tell me what you guys think so far.
Well, to be honest, so here's the thing. I don't remember them very well, but I do remember seeing like the first couple of episodes and then maybe one or two from the middle here and there because they had it on. But
The anime,
like,
you mean, right?
yeah, the anime.
Okay.
Um, so far though, I don't know. Like, I mean, the first episode I thought was kind of fun.
Hmm.
I mean, it was basically the first episode of the anime itself.
Yeah.
When you get to the second episode, I don't know. Like the second episode in the anime, if I remember correctly, is with that corgi, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Fine.
I
Data's
felt
dog.
like the
Hmm.
second episode jumped into some bigger things a little too fast
Hmm.
because at least with the original anime, there's a character that that doesn't show up. That's implied to be like very fundamentally important to Spike's past,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they're kind of there in the second episode to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, like I feel like the storytelling's a little all over the place. And I haven't even seen the complete anime. But just from what I've seen already and what I've seen of the Netflix adaptation,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the storytelling is a little all over the place cuz they're trying to make it different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna jump in because I'm gonna agree and I'm gonna disagree a little bit with AJ's comments. I'm totally with him with the story pacing and the storytelling of Cowboy Bebop, the Netflix show. I've seen about half of the animated show, and I saw that a long time ago. So, and I'm struggling to kind of remember because Cowboy Bebop for me is one that I start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. I've
Only
never.
26 episodes. You got to get
I
it.
know, I know, and I don't understand why I can't get it because I immensely enjoy the show, but I think it has a lot to do with my time and the ability for me to sit down and watch a show like that for 26 episodes is kind of daunting, right?
I think a part of
But
it also is that it's not your typical anime at all.
but that's the thing that I enjoy about it. It's
Right?
it's a little off kilter and wacky and stuff like that, right? Um, the thing about it for me is that coming into Cowboy Bebop was super excited upon seeing the opening, which is the thing that they showed first ahead of time, and the trailer was a little bit afterwards. But just seeing how they were true to form with that opening was super exciting to me, and it gave me hope that this was going to be a really good adaptation. Watching that first episode, I was very disappointed. Um, I hate to say it, but I actually got bored within that episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a point
Really?
in the
Yeah.
middle where it was just like, okay, where are you guys going with this and stuff like that. I wasn't. I'm not too thrilled with Mustafa Shakir's portrayal of Jet Black.
Really? That's actually my favorite
Um,
part. Go
he
ahead.
he seems like and this is just me. He seems like he's trying too hard to do a caricature and not trying to make Jet Black his own while still kind of keeping with what Jet Black is in the anime. And so
Mm-hmm.
for that, you know, it kind of falls flat for me. John Cho's performance as Spike Spiegel slash Fearless, again in that first episode, wasn't too crazy about it. Not crazy at all with any of the martial arts scenes, any of the fight scenes. The choreography for me is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is sad because in the show, the animated show, it's one of the best parts, right?
I think the big difference there for me also is that in the animated show, one of the things that it informs Spike's actual personality is he's
Mm-hmm.
such a good fighter that it's like fun to him. He's smiling and like he's just blocking like
And
it's
you
nothing.
get none of that in the Netflix show,
Yeah, I
you know?
didn't like that. That's one of the things that I really didn't like because I
the
love that
the
about
one
Spike.
thing I will
His
say is that
cockiness.
they do a good job of making you feel like you're in Cowboy Bebop. Like some of the sets and just the visual look of it is Cowboy Bebop. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that they nail that part. And obviously the music, given the fact that they're bringing the composer from the original show,
Yoko
is on
Kano.
point.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, and this is where I'm going to disagree a little bit with AJ. I found the second episode a little bit better than the first.
That was the
And
Teddy
I
Bomber
understand,
episode. Am I right?
huh?
Was that Teddy Bomber episode? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was a little bit more funner, and I thought that the pacing was just a little bit better, but I still fall into the same things where and maybe this is a reason why so many of the original anime fans are not vibing with the show, because I'm kind of with you with there where you're like expecting to see the Corgi episode and you don't. And that is like, okay, this is weird, right? Because you're kind of flipping things around here, and maybe that's not the best thing, but we haven't seen enough of the show to say, you know what, maybe it works, you know. But like I said, for me, you know, right now the biggest part that I'm having trouble with is that it doesn't feel like the characters, and I'm not a big fan of either the acting that's being done in portraying these characters, and I'm definitely not a fan of the choreography.
All right.
Hmm.
All right.
Uh,
So, you want to give some thoughts, Eli?
yeah, sure. Honestly, I sort of disagree and agree with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all have mixed feelings on this. I only remember the first episode of Cowboy Bebop, so I can't really tell you much about the story.
Mm-hmm.
But from as someone who's, I mean, I'm not gonna say not a fan because of course Cowboy Bebop. I love the concept of it, but I haven't gotten around to seeing the actual show. Um, as somebody who doesn't know Cowboy Bebop as well as you guys do, um, honestly, I found it a little bit slow, at least for me. I don't
Cowboy
know
Bebop
how.
is not. Uh, Cowboy Bebop is
No,
kind of an episode of the week type thing, but
no, I'm
it is a
yeah.
semi slow paced anime. So
No, I'm talking about the new one.
yeah, that's what I'm
The
saying.
Adam.
It
Yeah.
matches in that way, though. I don't think that that's the biggest problem with it. But
Uh,
continue. Yes.
I I don't know. It felt like, well, you guys were saying like, yeah, they're bringing in important stuff early, but like I felt like the action, I mean, obviously wasn't hitting, and it was like, I just got bored when I saw like all of like what was supposedly supposed to be suspense and all that. And it was more, what was carrying it was basically just the comedy. That was it. I mean, I didn't find anything else too interesting to at all, honestly. Um yeah, that's really all there is to it for me.
I think for you, it's something that you're gonna have to watch the anime first and like
Yeah.
dig into it
Yeah,
and really
I
see
need
what
to
it
do
is.
that myself
I think all of
also.
you kind of have to,
Yeah, I
anyways.
think I think we may pause the Netflix show for a bit just to try and get into the anime. You know, I think what's happening here though is kind of the thing that happened with Game of Thrones in the last season. Game of Thrones in the last season was noticeably worse because it didn't have the actual original adaptation material to use, right? So they
Mhm.
were basically on their own and making their own story. And while not the same thing here with the Netflix version of Cowboy Bebop, but you're trying to take 30 20 minute episodes and elongate them to an hour, and I think
40, I think they're 40
maybe
minutes or something like that. Either way, it's
is
still,
that what it is?
yeah, it
But
still doesn't
I
work.
think
Yeah.
that's where you're finding some of the issues here because you're attempting to fill the episode with stuff that wasn't in the original, and maybe the people that are actually writing the show don't have a good sense of what Cowboy Bebop was really is and stuff.
So
That's just a thought that I might have,
let me try to break this down as quickly as I can as someone who's seen the entire anime. I get that similar sense because the thing of it is that there's a lot of subtlety in the dialogue in the anime. There's a lot of moments where like something that a character says means multiple things. They're not going for that as much in the live action show. What they say is what they mean generally. There's no context or subtext or anything
right.
beyond that to what they're saying generally, unless it's John Cho speaking about the syndicate, okay? Which is in the anime. I I understand why they want to use that to flesh out the live action show because it's a big theme in the anime. I don't think it was the best choice to use the syndicate as the main purpose of the anime, as the main story of the anime, because that takes away from. I mean, I guess we'll see. I haven't seen the whole season yet. I've only been about 2 episodes in, but that takes away from Jet Black's story and from Faye's story, which were, of course, big and central to the anime. Even if they weren't as important as Spike's story and his story with the Syndicate, there's a lot of fascinating stuff that they can do with Faye's story and with Jet's backstory. Um, Without spoiling it too much, Faye is basically like Fry from Futurama. I'm going to leave it at
Hmm.
that. Okay, you guys can see more
Okay.
when you actually watch the anime. You'll see more about what I mean when I say that. The other thing that I don't like so far, and then I'll get into a couple of things that I do like, and we'll leave it at that, I suppose. Another thing that I don't like so far is so the show, the characters are hitting when it comes to cadence. And what I mean by is like they sound like the characters, right? They do sound like the characters. I don't think it's
Yeah.
as bad as Wall said, where it's a caricature. I think they're doing better than just a caricature because even in some moments, there's a moment where like for as again as an anime fan, There's a moment in like episode 2 where Spike like sees a like cup of noodles, and he has this. He like wraps his hands around it, and he has this face of like temptation.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a quintessential Spike moment from the anime. Silly, but it still informs you about his character, and that
But
was a great moment,
I
right?
don't think we get enough of that.
Well,
And
here's the
like I
thing.
said,
Here's the
in the
thing. Let me.
second episode, I thought they were doing a better job of it. The first episode, I had the real big problem with because I thought they didn't connect. The second episode, they did a better job of, you know, kind of connecting those characters to the anime. And so
Here's
that's
still
why I
the
said
bigger
the
issue.
second episode was still a little bit better.
Here's still the bigger issue. Here's why I say that it works in cadence, right, in the delivery, but not
Mm-hmm.
in tone. And when I say that, here's what I mean. Spike Spiegel in the anime is not a psychopath. The amount of times that he talks about wanting to kill people, jokes about killing people, all this other stuff that they're doing in the anime or in the live action show, this is the part that I actually hate the most, because Spike Faye might be the closest thing to a sociopath in the anime, but she's not one either. They take no pleasure from killing people. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
many of the episodes in the anime is Spike trying to save someone who's still a bounty. So he's not just going around blasting people in the anime. The fact that he's doing that in the live action show is a huge misstep. That is not at all what Spike's character is about in the anime.
I agree.
Whew.
I mean, he had no connection. Like in the first episode of the anime, with Asimov and that other girl, I forgot what her name is. He had a connection with that woman, and that's what made her death at the very end impactful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, what, you can tell that I didn't get that sense at all in that episode on the Netflix series. It was like, okay, yeah, she died, moving on.
Yeah,
You know what
because
I'm
in the
saying?
anime,
There was
does
no
not
connection there.
they don't force him to flirt with her in the anime. And I think by forcing him to flirt with her here, that made it bad. In the anime,
Yes.
all he's trying to do is get to Asimov by using her, and then he realizes that she might be in over her head in the
Yep.
anime. And that's how
Exactly.
that plays out. Here, and then of course he does realize that she's not in over her head, she's fully on board in the anime.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get those nuances in the live action show. You don't get
Yep.
that here. And that's where it falls apart. And also, Faye is not in the first episode of the anime. She
Yeah,
does not
that is
show up for
true.
a few episodes.
Yep.
And the fact that they had to have her show up just so she could have an action scene where she fights Spike, no good. I do have to disagree. I actually like Mustafa Shakir. He's one of my favorite parts of the show. I think he
Okay.
personifies Jet Black more than the other characters. I am pleasantly surprised by Daniela Pineda, because even though I don't like how they introduced her, I think she's actually getting some of the nuances of Faye right. And even though I like Jet Black's character more, I think they're actually a little bit more accurate so far with Faye's character, the way that they introduced her notwithstanding.
Okay.
And like you said, I think that I really like the special effects in the sets. I think some people said they look campy, they look corny, but that actually is also in line with Cowboy Bebop. The anime is a little campy, it's a little silly, it's a little corny.
Mm-hmm.
It's personified by segments like that one at the beginning of episode 2 with Punch and Judy, the big shots where they have the bounty hunter, they show off the bounties. That's a big part of the anime, and it's goofy and it's weird and it's silly like that. So some of that stuff they're getting right.
Yes.
They're getting, and it's almost like they're getting
right.
tonally everybody but the main characters better.
You can't
Except
do
for
that,
Vicious. Though. Vicious is awful, and I'll leave it at that.
You can't do that though, because then it takes away from the entire series, and I think that's where we are right now with Cowboy Bebop Netflix, is that they're getting certain parts on point, but the main thing that you have to get right, they're not. And I think that's the disappointing part of the show.
And you know what? As I guess as my closing review, I'm still enjoying it. I'm not hating it. I'm still having fun with it.
Yeah.
But it has to be said, they could have done better, sure, but this is considered one of the greatest anime of all time. It's not going to be easy to reproduce that magic. Just like snap your fingers and all of a sudden the live action Netflix show is great. So
yeah, I just wonder if we're treating it harshly just because of that fact that you just mentioned.
It's part of
that
it.
We're looking at it in those rose-colored eyes those rose-colored glasses of the anime and stuff.
That's part of it.
I wonder if that anime didn't exist, if we would having a different set of reactions for the show.
I think that we would. I think people would enjoy it more because they wouldn't have anything to base it on and be like, "That's not what Spike is like."
I mean, to be honest, yeah, it is enjoyable at best.
Mm-hmm. It's enjoyable. It's not great.
It's not horrible.
But it's not terrible.
Great either. Yeah, exactly.
It's like a 6 or a 7 so far, maybe. You know what I mean? It's not a 3. No, it ain't a 10.
No, definitely not.
It ain't a 10 like Arcane Legends or anything like that.
Yeah. Disgusting.
All right. I think are we got any more thoughts on that? Or should we wrap it up here, gentlemen?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. See you soon, Cowboy. No. Well, I'm not gonna sign out like that this week, but I'll do the quick spiel as usual. Again, we're recording remotely. I'm on some Apple AirPods this week, so if any sound issues or artifacts, slide into our DMs on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, wherever. You can find us at Get Geek Podcast or Get Geek News. You can hashtag both of those to find everything. All of our websites, all of our social media, our Twitters, everything. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast platforms. And of course, the best way to support your favorite podcast crew is to like, rate, share, subscribe, and definitely rate us on Apple Podcasts. That'd be number 1. That's the absolute best way to do that. So, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, man.
Another fun episode. Let's end it out here. And I will say, see you soon, Cowboy. But I will also say, there's nothing else to say beyond that other than stay geeky, my friends.
Arcane Legend sucks.